Here we are in 2022, and it is time for a few predictions on what may happen in the Denver real estate market this year. Now, none of these are going to be too wild. I'm not trying to make a splash here. I'm just trying to pinpoint what's likely to happen based on the data, financial projections, and what we've already seen in the very beginning of 2022. And spoiler alert, I'm not predicting a market collapse. Sorry. But let's get started. So the number one thing we're likely to see in 2022 is double-digit appreciation here in Denver. Now, last year, the appreciation was strong to very strong, to very strong. It averaged just under 20% in the Denver metro market. That means that a home that cost $455,000 1 year ago will now cost you $545,000. That's why when people say, well, I'm just going to wait for the market to calm down before I buy, it's not always the best plan. Unless you have a crystal ball and can tell me when the market will calm down, in which case, call me. Now, to have back-to-back years of double-digit appreciation would actually be a pretty big deal because it's only happened twice since the 1990s. But the factors are present for it to happen again in 2022. And the main factor is, of course, inventory. At the start of 2022, we actually have 42% less inventory than we had at the start of 2021, a year in which we had very low inventory. So economics, right? Supply and demand, and with supply being so low, demand is still dramatically outpacing it. And that's going to make a seller's market. However, there is one factor that could temper demand a bit this year compared to last year, and that actually is number two. The second prediction for 2022 is that interest rates will rise significantly. Now, don't freak. They're not going to jump to 8% all of a sudden. But the Fed is predicting up to 3 interest rate hikes in 2022. We don't know how or by how much, but we can be pretty sure that interest rates will rise a fair amount this year. In fact, it's already started. At the time of this recording, the national average for a 30-year loan is around 3.75%. And that could creep all the way past, cover your ears, 4%. 4%. 4%. Now, the reason I joke is that these rates, even after a little jump, are still historically low. If you look back to the 1980s, rates were up around 18% at one point, and people were still buying plenty of houses. So like I said, if you're a buyer, don't freak. Rates can and probably will still drop again at some point, and if you want, you can always refi. And prediction number 3, supply and demand will finally start to even out later this year. Now, this is my most salacious prediction of the 3 because, of course, all you hear is how crazy it is of a seller's market and has been for a long time. But for the market to start to level out, we need 2 things: more supply and less demand. And both of those things are actually already starting to happen. Interest rates, as we just talked about, can and will temper a buyer demand that's been in a frenzy for the last year and change. And our inventory will pick up as these supply chain issues get resolved and more homes are able to be built. Plus, the truth is, if this pandemic ever ends, and I swear it has to happen at some point, more people will move. And more people moving creates more sellers, and more sellers creates more supply. Now, one area this manifests itself is that older generations typically tend to downsize later in life. And based on the statistics, that's actually been on a bit of a pause during the pandemic, which would make sense. If we can ever start to wrap this thing up, those things will start happening again. Inventory will loosen up and supply will rise. It's still going to be a seller's market, but by the end of the year, we could be looking at a much different type of seller's market. Does that mean you should wait to buy? No, because remember, back to number 1, double-digit appreciation. You'll just be paying more then. Thank you for watching, and as always, if you need any real estate assistance, even if it's just answering a quick question, I would love to be able to help you out. I will put my contact info in the description of this video as always. And hey, if you are one of those people that's interested in selling in the near future, you are going to want to maximize your curb appeal before you do. And I did a video on that very thing. Let's go there now. Otherwise, see you soon.